In the time I've spent making videos, I've come across many innovative and unique ways to add to your builds. So today, I want to try making some random mechs, and whatever else I can come up with. Let's get to it. First up, we have these materials. If you want to know more about how to get them yourself, check out the video I released last week. Now, I've dipped my hand into making flying mechs before, and I figured with this new lightweight build material, I could probably make a new version. So, I'm gonna try and give it another shot. And since I wanted it to look appealing and not completely like an ordinary mech I usually build, I decided it would look pretty cool to stick a ball onto the base. And as I was ready to test it out and see how things were going so far, it was too heavy. But that's to be expected. During my attempt to try and lighten the load, I remember somebody in the comment section had mentioned I could use Octorock balloons to try and do the trick. With that in mind, I attached one. And to my surprise, the upper body part I was working on immediately started to fly away. I had never messed with this item as a building material, so it was neat to see it work. But as I was chasing it down, it just suddenly stopped working. Downside being, it was consumed way too fast for what I was planning. But I do appreciate the unique behavior the item has.
Outstanding!
While messing around, trying to optimize my build, I discovered that you can break this item away without it despawning, which is unique. Because as you may know, usually when you detach an item that has been made with Zonite, it completely disappears. But since that isn't the case with this rail material, I thought I would point it out as a cool bonus. Now, I initially was adding pulse lasers to the rails and trying to create a super efficient flying laser death trap, but I wasn't having too much luck, as you can see. That is until I made what looks like a bed frame and decided to attach 3 fans onto it. Then it suddenly was working great for a bit. It even seemed capable of taking down mobs. Until I decided to go back to my old ways and start attaching a ton of junk to it, which threw the weight off. But this shape and how the build looks made me think I could probably create some sort of flying car with this device. So I attached some small wheels to the front and gave it a try. But yeah, you guessed it. That didn't work out. It was around this point that I found myself fixated on the flying car idea. So I started prototyping different combinations of wheel and fan placements. While trying to get the idea working with the rail item, I found out that with this configuration of items, you either lose control of your driving capacity or your flying ability. The happy median between those two was proving rather difficult for me to find. So, instead, I doubled down and started making some crazy looking planes. And they weren't all successes at first, but that was partially my fault because I was trying to go for some obscure looking designs. So yeah, that's probably the reason this one didn't work. With that being the case, I dialed it back a little, and finally, after a couple revisions, I realized the turbine fans are way too heavy to lift. And if I remove those, this thing soars with no issue. I continued to mess around with a lot of different flying devices, but my absolute favorite of them all ended up being this simple device here. Primarily because it looks like a bird. And it's the easiest thing to make and probably the simplest out of everything today. If you enjoyed this video, leave a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Also, leave a comment because I respond to those pretty often. And as always, I'll catch you next time.